Picture a packed football ground in 1889. The ball crosses the line. Or does it? Nobody knows. And then the fighting starts. Association football in the 1880s is a beautiful, lawless mess. Crowds are enormous, passions are volcanic, and the rules, still being written, leave enormous gaps. The goalposts are just that, 2 posts and a crossbar, nothing behind them. When the ball flies through, it just keeps going. Whether it crossed the line is anyone's guess. Goalkeepers of the era were notorious for disputing every single score. They'd wave the ball away, claim it missed by a yard, argue with referees until the crowd nearly rioted. Referees at this time had almost no authority. They didn't even stand on the pitch until 1891. Before that, they watched from the sidelines, relying on umpires. Contemporary newspaper reports from the 1880s describe matches abandoned in chaos, crowds invading the pitch, and goals disputed for so long the daylight simply ran out. The sport desperately needed a solution, not a new rule, a physical, irrefutable answer. Something that would settle once and forever where the ball actually went. That answer came from an unlikely source. John Alexander Brodie was a civil engineer working in Liverpool, not a footballer and not a football administrator. Brodie was the kind of methodical Victorian who looked at a problem and saw a geometry puzzle. He was working on Liverpool's city infrastructure when football caught his attention. Brodie watched a disputed match and noticed something simple. The ball crosses the line, travels beyond the goal, and leaves no evidence of what happened. The empty space behind the posts was the problem. What if, he thought, you caught the ball? What if a mesh, a net, was strung between the posts and the ground? The ball enters and stays. Proof preserved in cotton. Brodie filed his patent in 1891. The design described a cord net attached to the goal posts and crossbar, pegged to the ground behind the goal. The Football Association moved quickly. They trialed the net at the FA Cup final in 1892, played at the Kennington Oval, between West Bromwich Albion and Aston Villa. West Bromwich Albion won 3-0. Each one settled the moment it was scored. The net caught the ball and held it, and no one argued. Disputed goals vanished. When the ball hit the back of the net, players, officials, and tens of thousands of spectators knew instantly what had happened. Within just a few seasons, goal nets spread across the English Football League. The game that had been scarred by arguments suddenly had a definitive moment everyone could see and share. As football spread around the world in the early 20th century, the net traveled with it. Today, goal nets are a mandatory fixture in every FIFA-sanctioned competition on Earth. Brodie went on to a remarkable career. He helped plan Liverpool's Mersey Tunnel and redesigned much of the city's road network. But the goal net may be his most enduring legacy. You will rarely find a mention of John Brodie in football history books. His invention is everywhere, on every pitch on the planet, and almost nobody knows his name. But this is where the story gets genuinely extraordinary. Because the net itself, the object Brodie repurposed for football, is not Victorian. It is ancient almost beyond comprehension. Archaeologists believe humans began making knotted nets during the Upper Paleolithic era. By some estimates, this places net making among humanity's oldest and most consequential technologies. Net sinkers, the small stones used to weight fishing nets, have been found at sites tens of thousands of years old. Nets predate pottery, farming, and writing. One of the oldest surviving net fragments comes from Antria in Finland, dating back roughly 10,000 years. It is made from willow bark, knotted by hand, and it is unmistakably a net. The emergence of fishing nets transformed human survival. Before nets, fish could only be caught one at a time. A net let communities gather food at a scale simply not possible before. Nets weren't only for water. Ancient hunters strung large mesh traps between trees to capture deer, birds, and smaller game. A single net could do the work of many spears. By the Roman era, nets were so embedded in culture that gladiators fought with them. The Retiarius carried a weighted net as his primary weapon, casting it to entangle opponents. Every seafaring civilization independently developed net making. Pacific Islanders, Norse fishermen, Japanese coastal communities, West African traders all converged on the same principle, interlocking knots forming a flexible mesh. Making a net by hand requires a single tool called a netting needle, a flat shuttle that carries the cord, and one repeated knot, the sheet bend. A net maker works row by row, looping and knotting. The mesh size is controlled by a small gauge block that keeps every diamond uniform. Speed comes only with years of practice. For most of human history, nets were made from plant fibers: flax, hemp, stinging nettle, and bark cordage. Later came cotton, stronger and slower to rot than anything before it. In the 20th century, synthetic fibers changed everything. Nylon and polyester nets are stronger, lighter, and nearly impervious to rot. The fishing industry adopted them almost overnight after the 1950s. Football nets followed the same trajectory. Early nets were heavy cotton twine that sagged when wet. Today's goal nets are typically made from knotless polyethylene, engineered to billow dramatically when struck. That satisfying visual, the net bulging back, is not accidental. Modern net manufacturers calibrate tension and mesh geometry so the ball carries the net backward in one clean, visible wave. If you look at archive footage from the 1920s, the nets hang differently, deeper, heavier, more rectangular. The aesthetics of the goal net have quietly evolved alongside the sport itself. Hand net making is still practiced today, mostly in traditional fishing communities and by specialist craftspeople. In some ports, fishermen still repair nets by hand, the same knotting motions unchanged for millennia. Modern goal nets are machine-made. Large automated looms extrude continuous polyethylene mesh at speed, then cut, edged, and fitted with the rings that clip to standard goalpost fittings. Even now, in an era of Hawkeye cameras and goal line technology, the net remains. Sensors are the primary arbitrator, but the visual confirmation the net provides still matters to every crowd. The back of the net now means absolute, undeniable success. Politicians use it, advertisers use it. The net has become a metaphor for certainty itself, far beyond any football pitch. When a commentator says a player found the net, or nestled one in the net, they are invoking John Brodie's 1891 solution without ever knowing it. From a 5-year-old's first plastic-framed kickabout set to the nets at Wembley and the Maracana, the geometry is the same. Posts, bar, net. Brodie's template, unchanged in essence. When a goal is scored in a World Cup final, more than 1 billion people watch the net move. That rippling mesh connects them all to 40,000 years of human ingenuity. John Brodie never played professional football. He never scored a goal. But every goal scored since 1892 has, in a small but real way, passed through his mind first. From a Paleolithic hunter stringing cord between branches to catch a deer, to a stadium erupting as polyethylene ripples backward, that is not a metaphor. It is a straight, unbroken line. Nets are the expression of a very human idea, that you can catch something invisible, a fish, a moment, a truth, and hold it long enough for everyone to see. Every time a football crosses a goal line and the net swells outward, an ancient technology performs its oldest function. It catches something, it keeps it, it makes the invisible undeniable. Before 1891, a goal was a claim. After it, a goal was a fact. One quiet engineer with a patent and a piece of mesh changed the nature of sporting truth forever. This is Origins. Subscribe and come back tomorrow. There's a new origin every single morning.